I'm Davy. I'm awesome. And welcome to Davy's Awesome Movies, where I review the styles of movies that I love. Alternative, B-rated, cult style flicks. And this week is definitely one of those so bad it's awesome cult flicks. And to show you how independent it was written, directed, and produced by George Barry. And like I said, 26 years after being made, was finally distributed by Cult Epics. The movie that was destined to be a cult flick, even though it was basically lost into oblivion and obscurity. Deathbed, the bed that eats. The movie opens with almost an entire minute of crunching sounds. Yeah, that literally goes on for almost an entire minute. And then, it's breakfast time, as you can see there. And then an artist, who is casted as the artist, is telling us how, for the past 60 years since his death, he's been stuck behind a painting in a room with a demon-possessed bed.
I think half that time I've spent in listening to that monster snore.
Well, tell that monster to get some breathe right strips. They'll help clear up that snoring. Then we go to a couple who pulls up to an abandoned mansion to have a little picnic. Why?
They're all locked.
Well then, how about you go to a park or something? Like, a place you're allowed to be? Instead, they walk around the locked mansion until they find one open room. I wouldn't.
If only I could speak beyond this painting and warn them.
Well, what I would hope you would tell them is, hey, don't be in this movie. Inside this room, they find a bed.
Look, baby, I told you no one's been around here for years.
And yet you decide to get into that bed that's got God knows how many dust mites and bugs in it, and God knows who made it and when, and would probably be covered in dust and smell like mold right now. While this couple is making out on the bed, you really didn't notice the foam rising up around the bed right next to you? The apple looks like it's surrounded by acid or something, and there's no teeth anywhere. What is chewing? Then the bed takes the rest of their picnic. My chicken! After it's done eating their food,
let's eat.
Good luck, that bed is a pig! Then we see the curtains slowly close by themselves. Now here's what I'm wondering. Are they screaming because they're being eaten? Or because they realize that all their chicken is gone? Now, we go to lunch. Apparently, even though the couple before was the first meal this bed had had in like 10 years, on this coincidental day, 3 girls decide to go to this mansion that they were told about, where they could go get away for the weekend. I don't think they'll be needing the whole weekend.
I shouldn't have come along.
Yes, you shouldn't have come. What you should have said is, no thanks, director, I'm going to take the hemorrhoid cream commercial job. Would have been much better than this. That one is Susan, by the way. She's talking to herself about how she basically invited herself along and now she regrets it. I'm sure you do.
I brought flowers to brighten up the house, in case it's gloomy from being shut up so long.
Yeah, flowers. That'll spruce it up.
I should have told them to turn around and take me back home.
By them, she means the director, writer, and producer. Happens to be the same guy. While looking for the actual house, they find a graveyard outside.
I wonder where this house is supposed to be.
I wonder how you guys are talking when we've yet to actually see one of you speak. Eventually, though, the girls do find the room with the deathbed.
This one bothers you for some reason.
That's the lead, Sharon, I guess. Was there a lead? The other one in the room, Diane, says that bed is big enough for all 3 of them to sleep in. But Susan has an idea.
I'm very tired. Maybe I should go to sleep now, and then you two can have the bed tonight.
She says that at night, while the 2 of them are sleeping, she'll just get a book and read by the fire or something. So the other two leave so that she can get some rest, and they go to check out the rest of the mansion.
Too bad the bed doesn't fear you.
Maybe it would fear her more if her lips ever matched what she was saying. Like seriously, everybody in this movie speaks in the same monotone, with not even so much as a hint of emotion in their voice, and that's even if they are speaking. Most of the time they talk, it's just their internal monologues. So Susan goes and gets ready for bed. Oh God, the demon in the bed is my brother!
Strange.
Okay, if that random event didn't send you running out of the room, you deserve to die. We cut to Sharon's brother, who is casted as Sharon's brother.
Okay. I guess I ought to know where to look for her by now.
Played by the only known actor in this movie, William Russ, who most of you would remember as Alan Matthews, the father in Boy Meets World. This was his second acting job ever, first film, and definitely not the highlight of his career. Apparently his mother is sending him after his little sister because of her mental state, which they never get into. We never learn anything about her mental state. Like, we don't know what's wrong with her. Is she manic depressive? Is she schizophrenic? What? Why do you guys feel like you need to go track down a clear adult runaway? Because throughout the movie, except for the fact that she has absolutely no emotion like everybody else, she seems fine, and she's an adult, so really at that age, is she a runaway or did she just leave? Now back to Susan. Why would you sleep with flowers in your bed? Then the bed pulls her in and the acid thing eats her. This movie was very, very low budget. Apparently the bed is still hungry. And apparently there were some Pop-Tarts or something in that bag. And that's not all. Apparently Susan must have been really greasy because the bed got indigestion. I mean, either that or George Barry had some really weird deal with Pepto-Bismol for product placement in this movie. They gave him $5. After this, the artist in the painting starts telling stories of other people that the deathbed has eaten. Funny, the priest is being eaten, but doesn't seem to be that alarmed. Goes into some other stories, like when the bed ate an entire orgy that was going on it. Hey, don't eat so fast, you're gonna choke! Or when a couple of gangsters were hiding out in that room on that bed. I can't believe that didn't work. The artist even talks about himself, how the bed didn't eat him because he was already dying.
Was it because I was diseased flesh you didn't want to eat me?
Well, which I can understand. I mean, nobody wants to eat spoiled meat. But it was because of this that after he died, the bed somehow condemned him to limbo behind his own painting. Yeah, sure. And then he goes into the story of how the deathbed came to be about, which is really long and confusing, so try to stick with me. Apparently the demon possessed a tree, then turned into the wind. Then there was some girl living there that it fell in love with, so it took a human form. And while taking that human form, made that bed for her and him to have relations. But for some reason, sleeping with her killed her. And this caused the demon to be sad, and it made his eyes crack. And a couple of drops of blood from his eyes hit the bed, causing it to be possessed and have an insatiable hunger for human flesh. I just explained this to you and I don't get it either. But at least we're like halfway through this 70-minute movie because of all the filler. That's right, filler. There is a lot of it in this 70-minute movie. So keep that in mind. An average movie is 90 minutes long. This is shorter than an average movie, and to get it to being that much shorter than an average movie, they had to put a bunch of stuff that didn't really need to be there. Apparently earlier, the bed was waiting for the other girls to leave, because it was afraid of Sharon for some reason, and the artist has now figured out why.
It's that simple. A peculiar similarity of the eyes.
But now, because the bed has figured out what freaked him out, he can go ahead and eat Sharon. So at least he won't miss out on a course, I guess. Diane and Sharon can't find Susan anywhere, so where Diane decides to stay around and wait for Susan, Sharon takes the car into town to go look for Susan.
I hope there's not a maniac around.
So now, because this movie has to break things up into segments, it's now officially time for dinner. While Diane's in the room, we see Sharon, who's now having car trouble. Yeah, just walk away with it in the middle of the road. That should be fine. Diane lights herself up a cigarette and gets comfortable on the bed.
Tobacco. I haven't smoked in 70 years.
Maybe that's what killed you. Diane falls asleep with the cigarette. Well, you just took away your being the victim, because now if the bed eats you, it's basically self-defense. So it starts to eat Diane. She struggles to get free. Well, that's some convincing struggling. Although I gotta say, it's a little weird that she's the first victim they showed that had the idea to, get off the bed. She does get out of the bed, though. But she can't walk because the paint on her legs is too heavy. By the way, this is one of the ways they got this movie to be in about 70 minutes, is this scene is literally over 3 minutes of her crawling to the door and the bed just sitting there. Until after 3 agonizing minutes, not from her but us, the bed finally does something. So apparently the bed likes to play with its food. Sharon gets back and sees Diane very slowly being pulled into the bed and decides to try to help. But it doesn't work. The bed does drag Diane in and eats her. How does Sharon react to this? Pretty much the way everybody reacts to everything in this movie, with no real emotion, just kind of, oh. Now, since the bed can control the room, Sharon is trapped in the room and just waiting for the bed to eat her. But she seems okay with it. Somehow, Sharon's brother does find her.
Sharon?
But she's not alarmed, and Sharon's brother gets an idea. Not a good one, though. Well, it's a good thing you don't have any blood or veins or muscles or anything, because that might have been serious.
Great. Cartilage is decaying.
Oh, the cartilage is decaying. Now those hands are useless. Because they're useless, though, his sister does break them off. Apparently, though, this bed does sleep once every 10 years. And once it is asleep, it is powerless. And this gives the artist the ability to talk to everybody outside of the painting. So now it's time for the just dessert. The artist calls out to Sharon.
Touch my hand, and I will tell you what to do.
And tells her the really ridiculously elaborate thing that she has to do to defeat this bed. I mean, why not? It was ridiculously elaborate that the bed came to be. Why not kill it? Apparently she has to draw 2 circles around the bed, and stabbing the floor with some reason make it bleed. And then go and make sticks of 2 circles outside, and put bones of its victims in the middle of the circles so that the bed will teleport outside. But apparently the artist didn't tell her the whole story, because apparently doing this would not only transfer the bed outside, but would kill her.
Your death will be her life.
Kind of messed up. But what it does is resurrect the girl that the demon loved in the first place, who, even though we had seen her in her casket, undecayed, buried in clothing, comes out naked. Which, spoilers, there are several naked women in this movie, which is also really weird that women would get naked for this movie. Like, don't get me wrong, a Spielberg movie or something, I get why you'd do that for that, but this? But apparently the naked resurrected woman, who no, they did not give a name to either, has gone outside with Sharon's brother and started having sex with him, which somehow makes the bed light on fire. But to be fair, bed, don't be jealous. He never laid a hand on her. At this point, I know you're asking me, Davey, what just happened here? Hell if I know. So there you have it. That's Deathbed, the Bed That Eats. The first and definitely last film that George Barry ever made. Because again, this movie stayed in obscurity for 26 years. He could not get it distributed because originally the only distribution company that would look at him said, put a credit sequence at the end and we'll give you $1,000 and distribute it. However, the problem with that was to put the end credit scene there would have cost him $3,000, so naturally he just couldn't do it. And then he basically just went on with his life. However, apparently they did make a couple of copies of it through VHS, and those got around and it started getting a cult following. When he realized this in 2003, that it had a cult following in Europe, he was able to get a company to distribute it, and it started getting a little bit of cult success. What gave it a real booming cult success was on a comedy special from Patton Oswalt. He mentioned this movie in his stand-up and told people, go on IMDb and look it up yourself. It's a real movie, which honestly is how I found out about its existence too. Like I said, the movie was extremely low budget. It started with a $10,000 budget, which later got up to $30,000. Although I still can't believe that this piece of crap cost you $30,000 to make. I mean, you had a cast that was so inexperienced they were probably doing it for a free lunch. Basically, though, the whole movie has the feel of like a film school student making a ridiculously artsy film project for a class that I imagine he didn't get an A on, and that's what we're watching. But because of that, it's extremely entertaining to watch and laugh at how nobody has any emotion or real reaction to anything that should go on, and how much the movie just kind of drags on with a bunch of filler, very little dialogue, very little story. However, is there a hidden meaning to this movie? Is there really? Is maybe George Barry saying that the way we rest on our laurels through all of our endeavors is causing us to decay and fester inside the very beds that we go to for rest? Rest that we may not have necessarily deserved. Rest that we are using to cheat ourselves out of achieving a better future in life? No, it's just a bad movie. But it's fun. So there you have it. That's Deathbed, the Bed That Eats. Hope you guys enjoyed this review, and if you did, make sure to hit like. Hit subscribe, hit that little bell so you get notifications for when I post new videos, and leave a comment. Tell me what you thought of Deathbed, the Bed That Eats. Love you guys.